Welcome to the sound of the start of the EFL weekend. This is not the Top 20 podcast betting show, sponsored by Sky Bet and the Sky Bet EFL Building Foundations Fund. I'm Ali Maxwell. He's George Elek. We're making betting picks ahead of one of the last full slates of EFL action of the 25-26 season. This show is very strictly for over 18s only. Gambling comes with risks. Please make sure that you're aware of them by heading to gambleaware.org. George Elek. When I think about this weekend, when I look at the fixture list, having experienced the drama of the midweek slate, my mouth is full of water. Mouth watering.
Oh, right, got it. Okay. Yes, it's going to be good. It's it feels like a weekend, as always the case now, where things are going to become a lot clearer. And we found out some stuff in midweek, but everyone playing now. Some massive games at basically every single point of every single league.
Yeah, it was a huge midweek, as I said, across all three leagues. We covered it on a special episode of our midweek EFL podcast, Under the Lights. That is for paid subscribers of NTT20.com only. Huge drama in the Championship with Ipswich losing at Portsmouth, Southampton disposing of Blackburn Rovers. We had two relegations in League One that we talked about, and in League Two, two of the games of the season took place, and Barrow 3 Oldham 2 probably had the best 10 minutes of EFL football so far this season. Yeah, so if you want to listen to that little 35-minute midweek update, you can listen to all paid subscriber-only pods on Spotify, on other podcast platforms. You don't have to listen to them through Substack. If you don't know how to listen to them through other podcast platforms, let us know and we can tell you how to do so. Last week, I called Norwich Ipswich wrong and therefore lost my nap. Quite a tough one to take when the first shot in the game is a penalty that probably shouldn't have been. But then I also lost all my goal scorer picks and got a 3 out of 5 Eggman. So no complaints. You had a pancake week, completely flat. Lovely nap winner at 9-4. Swansea, 4.5 points profit on that.
Went off 100 to 30 as well.
Did it really? But then you staked 4.5 points across the rest of your picks and they all lost. So completely flat pancake. Nothing ventured and nothing gained. Quite a lot ventured. Something ventured.
Nothing gained.
The same amount returned, therefore nothing gained or lost.
Yeah.
The phrase doesn't really work for this, does it? George, what's your nap this weekend? What's your best bet?
You mentioned the game of the week and probably, I would say, one of the games of the season for the neutral in Barrow beating Oldham 3-2, a game that was 1-0 to Oldham from the 49th minute until the 82nd minute, and then was 1-1 and then 2-1 to Barrow, 2-2, 3-2 to Barrow in the 91st minute, a ridiculous last 10 or so. And I think that Barrow are value to repeat the trick and to get their third home win in 4 home games, at 5-4 at home to Walsall. Now, Barrow's form under Sam Foley has been much improved. They have chopped and changed managers more than basically anyone I can remember in recent history, but they seem to have finally found a management team that are getting better results from this group of players. Now, Foley is a senior player. He hasn't got any management experience, but he's being assisted by Graham Coughlin, formerly of Bristol Rovers and Mansfield Town, Newport County and Boston United most recently. And he has a history basically throughout his managerial tenure or tenures of getting off to very fast starts before things tail off quite quickly. At Boston last time, he came into a club in the National League who were sitting in the relegation zone and went on an incredible run, 20 points from 9 games to get them out of the relegation zone. It was a similar case of Bristol Rovers when he first came in, of some amazing early results. Similarly, Newport started well before turning. And you have to think that given he's working alongside Foley, he's going to be, even if he's assisting him, he's going to be a big part of this managerial team. And he seems to be a manager that gets an initial uptick in terms of performances. And we've definitely seen that. They beat Bromley 2-1 not very long ago at home to end a really long run without a win. They went to MK Dons and drew that game 0-0. They were beaten at home 1-0 by Chesterfield, beaten away from home 3-2 by Barnet, and then they hosted Oldham and won the game 3-2. So the lowest placed team in that run, depending on games in hand, Oldham and Barnet, who at the time of playing them were both in the playoff hunt, and yet they've won 2 of these games. They've drawn 1 against the team in the top 3 in MK Dons, and the 2 games they've only lost by a solitary goal. So I think it's fair to say we've seen enough now to think this Barrow team are playing at a higher level than their 23rd place suggests. Now, my nemesis, Walsall. Every time anything about Walsall has come up on this podcast in the last 2 seasons, it has gone, horrendously, from being in a very good position with them last season to win the league, which obviously didn't go particularly well, to taking them on in the playoff semi-finals against Chesterfield that they won, to then backing them in the playoff final, which they lost. To this season, similar things happening again, putting them up as an ACCA swerve the other day, and they got a last-minute winner. Goffey put them up on the betting show, and a similar thing happened. They are our nemesis. But now, Walsall are in a position in the league. They're 13th. They are 10 points off the top 7. Walsall, imagine if they now did it. Walsall will not be finishing in the. It is impossible for them unless there are points deductions to finish in the top 7, even if teams above them lose or whatever else. They are not going to be getting promoted this season. They're not going to be finishing the playoffs. There's nothing for them in this game. And in their last 4 games, since the reality of their fate has been sealed, and since whatever happened after the initial departure of Matt Sadler that improved their performances, we are now seeing a huge slide in performance levels. 4 without a win, last seen losing 4-0 at home to Cheltenham Town, off the back of a 2 undefeated Swindon that really ended their season. Like, this is a team who I think are done, and I think the trauma of the last 2 seasons is probably catching up with them, and I'm pretty sure this is a group of players who want the season to end as soon as possible. So for Barrow, a team in the ascendancy, who are playing much better, for whom this is a pivotal game, up against a Walsall side that just want the finish line to come as soon as possible, who are not playing very well, who have a manager in post who won't be there beyond the end of the season. This just seems like a really good opportunity where, the team ratings and the quality of both teams is never going to, in my mind, have Barrow short enough. So to be getting 5-4 about Barrow to win this one seems like a bit of a gift to me, in a game that I think their fans will expect them to win. So yeah, Barrow 5-4 to beat Walsall is my nap.
Give me a bell and call me Ali, Portsmouth Football Club Maxwell, because I'm napping Pompey at home to Leicester, 13-10 with Sky Bet. The match situation is delightful for the neutral. Portsmouth are 19th on 48. Leicester are 23rd on 41. Leicester and Portsmouth both have 4 games left to play, 3 after this. That means if Portsmouth win, Leicester cannot catch them. So there would only be 1 remaining relegation spot that Portsmouth could feasibly drop into. If Leicester win, they're up to 44. They'll be 4 points behind Portsmouth on account of beating them. And then any points dropped this weekend by Blackburn at Coventry, West Brom at Preston, Oxford, home to Derby, at Derby. At Derby. Then that would have Leicester close the gap and lead to squeakier bums, perhaps certainly for Blackburn, who've played a game more than the rest of the group at this stage. A draw wouldn't be great, I don't think, for either, but obviously worse for Leicester. I think with Pompey's next 2 games away to Coventry and Stoke, they'll be extra keen to get to 51 here and to essentially kill, in their eyes, one of the teams that could catch them. Now, in terms of me backing Portsmouth to win, I've got to be honest and say much of this is down to watching them play at home to Ipswich on Tuesday night and beat the team that were suddenly in the driving seat for second spot and automatic promotion by 2-0 and completely deserving it and being miles the better side at 0-0, scoring twice in quick succession and keeping a clean sheet in the second half when 2 goals up against an excellent side, thanks in some part to some great last-ditch defending by Regan Poole and a couple of good saves from their excellent goalkeeper Schmidt. They were so impressive, and look, they're an interesting one, Portsmouth, because actually a lot of what they do in every game. The intensity, the aggression, the press, the speed with which they play, the directness. And when they win, you raise it as like something excellent that was impossible for the opposition to handle, which was the case in the first half. But I was thinking back to the game against Derby, which they lost. That was during their terrible run recently, where it looked like they were playing too fast and they were like, they couldn't settle down. They couldn't put their foot on the ball because they were just so gung-ho and helter-skelter. And then that was framed as, I would have framed that as like, that seemed like a problem in the game. So it's funny how, outcomes make such a big difference to how you look at things. Even so, if they play anything like they played on Tuesday night at home to Leicester, I'd be very confident that Leicester will struggle to handle that, just as Ipswich, a significantly better side, struggled to handle it. Obviously, Portsmouth playing on Tuesday and Leicester having a week off is not ideal for this bet. It's one of the reasons not to back it. But overall, this is, in quite a large sense, a bet on intangible stuff, really, rather than technical stuff or underlying numbers or anything like that. This is a group of intangibles that I would list as confidence, togetherness, desire, intensity, aggression. I think all of those things are great to have in a relegation battle and really bad if you're missing those things. And I think Portsmouth showed all of those in midweek, most of those in beating Borough last weekend as well. They've beaten the two teams who were second when they played them by 2-0 in their last two games. They're not a team whose mentality I worry about, put it that way. And that's not just based on the last two games. That's based on 3 years of Portsmouth under Mousinho and the mentality that they showed to get it up from League One, the mentality they showed to stay up, the mentality they've all had to show sticking together rather than throwing their toys out the pram and sacking people when they've gone through extended poor runs at Championship level. I think that helps in these moments, in these final weeks of the season. They've got the home advantage. The home atmosphere should be massive here. Leicester, their last away win was on the 6th of December. 7 draws and 4 defeats in their last 11. So not losing loads, but no wins, no muscle memory on the road. I think they're lacking a lot of the things that I just listed that I think Portsmouth have that I think are really important. Now, I really hope that Connor Shaughnessy can start here. Him and Regan Poole as a centre-back pairing with Schmidt behind them. Player of the season, Devlin on the right, Williams on the left. It just makes them feel so much sturdier than if any other centre-back plays. But Shaughnessy does struggle a bit to play back-to-back games. He's had injury issues. Lots of, they got this rotating cast of kind of nippy and or energetic strikers behind Big Colby. And I'm hoping they repeat the trick from Tuesday night. Leicester, they have won the XG battle in each of their last 4 games, which is a bit of a red flag, but 3 draws, 1 defeat in that time. I think we've been quite clear on our analysis of Leicester for like most of the season so far. Like even when they started off quite well, I certainly think I was quite quick on the fact that they might actually really not be very good and were relying on individual quality, which didn't sustain and ripe for a spiral. And you have been absolutely word perfect, basically, on everything since Rowett has been appointed. Pretty much everything you've said, I think, has borne out to be true. So hopefully that means I think we've got a good steer on Leicester. I'm happy to get against them here. Portsmouth 13-10, my nap. Next best.
Yeah, bit of a weird game I'm looking at for my next best, but I'm going to back Northampton to beat Doncaster at 18-5 in a game in League One that means absolutely nothing. It's just a big price thing. Like I get that Doncaster are by far the better team between the two. And even though Doncaster had a disappointing season, a look at the league table will confirm that. But given that Doncaster have little to play for now, with their safety pretty much confirmed, I don't think with Donny now on 53 points in 15th, with a game in hand on teams beneath them, both Wimbledon and Exeter. It's nigh on impossible in my mind that they will be relegated this season. And I think Doncaster, even if they'll be think we need to get over the line, there are 250 to 1 shot to go down this season. So basically very little of importance for them here. Up against the Northampton side, who were beaten by Luton 2-1 on Wednesday night, which confirmed their relegation, although I would say it was their best performance by miles in the last few weeks, beaten by a Carl Naismith free kick in the 85th minute, but they put in a good performance. They took the lead there up against a Luton side who are obviously playing very well at the moment and are trying to force their way into the playoffs. It was a performance that, I'd say bring some credit with it and suggest that this isn't a Northampton side who are downing tools. And I guess there's probably a bit of pride at stake here because they won't want to finish bottom of the league, having gone bottom of the league after Port Vale's point on Tuesday night. So yeah, 2 pretty poor teams. I wouldn't say there's a huge motivation here for Doncaster. I reckon there'll be some Donny fans who'll disagree and say they need to get the 3 points just to confirm it. But mathematically, I just don't think that's really the case. And for them to be as short as they are away from home is pretty nuts to me. So yeah, taking the 18-5 about a Cobblers win is my next best.
Goal scorer corner. 3 goal scorers, all in League 2, all best price with Sky Bet as we record. We've both had a dart on Ben Wiles at some point over the last month or two. I think that...
He's scored every other game, hasn't he?
He has scored in all the games we haven't backed him. I think 7-2 anytime continues to be just a bit of value for Ben Wiles. Milton Keynes are playing at Crewe. It's a half-point pick for me. Half-point play, 7-2. Wiles has scored in 4 of 18 since joining MK Dons in January. That's 22.2% hit rate. 7-2 suggests exactly 22.2% probability. But I think he's trending upwards. In his first 9 games, he had only 13 shots and scored 1, and I dare say was playing a little bit deeper. Then Warne started playing him basically off the striker as a second striker, as a number 10, with goal threat his biggest remit. And in his next 9 games, he's had 25 shots and scored 3 goals. So twice as many shots per game in the last 9 as his first 9. So his goal threat has increased as he's kind of settled into that role in the team. It's obviously a very strong team. He gets lots of shots because he plays in an attacking position with that role for a good team. He's slightly underperforming his XG, actually. Takes over 2 shots per game. And, he's a bit of a sort of 15 to 20 yard merchant, but he's basically made a career of being that and at a higher level than this. So it's really hard for me to predict how this game's going to look. Crew, I find very difficult to predict. I'd love them to give MK a real game here, but I still think Wiles at 7-2 represents value there. Jay's Cabia, 1 point play. Best price with Sky Bet 9-4 anytime for Grimsby at Gillingham. Now, Cabia's basically playing off, kind of off the left, but it's a role that I would bring up like Haji Wright. Think of Haji Wright when he played off the left. It's that kind of like cheating left-sided striker when you've got a focal point number 9. You don't ask, it's not a 1v1 merchant playing off the left. It's certainly not a chalk on the boots cross merchant playing off the left. It's basically like an inside forward position. It's a striker role essentially, and I think Cook basically takes all the heat from the centre backs and uses physicality, his target man chops to great effect. And I think Cabia therefore has like a lovely role where he can just arrive from wide areas, from deep, and make sure that he arrives in good positions. Now he has scored in 4 of his last 6 games since coming back into the team and getting this role. So smallish sample size, but 4 goals in 6, and in 4 of 6, and 5 goals total. He could have had another in midweek against Chesterfield. He had a tap in back post, amazing last ditch defending. He did score Grimsby's goal against Chesterfield, so massive goal threat at the moment. It's been a great introduction, I think, to the EFL for Cabia. He scored a lot of goals for Truro in the National League South last year. He stepped up 2 levels, and he's taken to it so well, and he's still very young. I often think in striker terms, like, he's 25, but he hasn't had loads of games in his career so far, and I'm really impressed with how he's stepped up, because I think quite often it's the older guys that come up from the National League and they're really ready for League Two because they've kind of earned their stripes. I'm talking about Cheek and Kabamba and loads of guys like that. But KB is still young, and he strikes me as a bit of a kind of goldfish striker in that he gets loads of chances and he misses plenty. He's by no means a guaranteed finisher of chances. He scores some, and either way, he just keeps going and he gets on the end of stuff, and he keeps getting on the end of stuff. Against a Gills side that have conceded 2 or more in 7 of their last 9, I think KB at 9-4 is good value, 1 point play. And finish off with a Fleetwood player, Mark Helm. 7-2, half a point on. Helm has scored in 8 of his last 15 league games, better than 1 in 2 over a third of the season. He's had 42 shots in that time, just under 3 a game. He's hit the target 15 times, once per game. His XG is 4.63, so he's got 8 goals. He's overperforming it, but that's the sort of player that he is. He's a kind of... Think of Danny Mayer when he played for Fleetwood in that number 10 role. When Helm's on the ball, wearing number 10, he reminds me a lot of Danny Mayer, except way better at shooting. Probably not quite as good in tight spaces. 0.34 XG per 90 over the last 15 games. So I think a new role or a new lease of life under Matt Lawler. He's a massive goal threat. And I think although Chesterfield, have the motivation away at Fleetwood, I like what I've seen from Fleetwood. I think half a point on Mark Helm at 7-2 is a decent thing. So 2 points staked in total. 1 point on Jace Cabia of Grimsby at 9-4. Half a point on Ben Wiles of MK at 7-2, and half a point on Mark Helm of Fleetwood at 7-2. Akaswerve. Akaswerve.com.
I've got a goal scorer, thanks.
Goalscorer.net.
Don't put me out of the corner.
.co.uk.
Right. If I were to ask you what is a kind of strange current trend when it comes to Millwall, what would you say?
I love it so much when you turn betting show stuff into
quiz.
This sort of
quiz content.
A funny recent trend vis-a-vis Le Mill Wall.
The Wall of Mill.
It would be something like, haven't scored loads of set-piece goals recently from CBs?
No, not at all. That was a terrible guess. Their first half performances and second half performances are very, very different.
Yeah, okay.
Now, I have to clarify as well that wasn't the case last time out against West Brom, where they were quite good in the first half. But taking that out of it, and also it was right at the end of the first half, it's pretty stark. Like against Norwich at home, again, they lost 2-1. It was 0-0 at half time. But in the first half, Norwich outshot them 8 shots to 3, 1.06 XG to 0.33. In the game against Middlesbrough that many people would have watched, Borough outshot them 18 to 3. And they 1.88 to a 0.13 XG, and they won the game 2-1. But at half time, it was 1-0 to West Brom. Sorry, 1-0 to Middlesbrough. If you look at the 1-1 draw against Ipswich, it was 1-0 to Ipswich at half time. It was 8 shots to 4, 0.57 XG to 0.12. And then the 2-1 defeat against Blackburn, where Millwall didn't have a single shot in the first half. Like there is, maybe by design, it may be the case that Alex Neil saying to them, look, let's just contain in the first half because we feel like then we can use whatever it is that we've got to more effect in the second half. But there's a definite trend here. Millwall, one of the best sides in the whole division, but for some reason in the first half at the moment, aren't really laying a glove on their opposition. So I've taken a view here that I can be fairly confident that if this goes by the form book, QPR may have more chances in the first half than the second half. And Richard Kone is their biggest goal threat with Roman Borrell injured, and he's 8-1 to score first. So basically he's going to put that up. If this is the same, and if QPR, if the opposition team to Millwall are going to be in the ascendancy in the first half, he therefore becomes the most likely goal scorer, and that isn't reflected in the outright in the prices, obviously, because Millwall are the heavy favourites to win the game. So yeah, Kone 8-1 first goal scorer is my goal scorer pick.
Love that. Loved everything about the reasoning there.
Thanks.
Apart from getting the quiz question wrong.
Yeah, it was a bad guess.
Before I crack some eggs,
I've got an Akaswerve.
Make me an Akaswerve omelette.
Yeah, it's just Wickham who are at home to Blackpool under 4-5. This is Wickham's probably first game where the chances of them getting into the playoffs are basically done. They're 7 points behind Stevenage. There's a queue of teams ahead of them. And they play against a Blackpool side who are currently in pretty good form, having won 3 of the last 4 games, but still sit just 4 points above Exeter in 21st. And we'll know that points are incredibly important here, and even a draw would be very important. We know that Blackpool have way more quality in their squad than their points tally suggests, and they've started to show it recently, albeit mainly at home. But even the performance in the 1-0 defeat against Stevenage was okay, and in the away trip before that, they drew 0-0 against Cardiff. They're making it difficult for their opposition to break them down away from home, and I think Wickham will struggle to do so. So odds on seems short to me, let alone 4-5.
Okay, the Eggman is a sixfold at 77.86 with Sky Bet. 3 more of these this season, and maybe none ever again after that, but maybe not. Let's not make any decisions right now. Let's not make any rash decisions based on 35-odd losing Accas. 5 championship teams, 1 in League One. This one starts during the early kickoffs at 12:30 on Saturday and ends on Sunday. So you guys are going to hate it. Portsmouth, my nap, already disclosed my reasoning. Then I've got Derby County at home to Oxford at 17-20. Now this one's obviously massive for the Oxes of Oxfordshire. Probably one of the biggest games in your history, I'd imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. No question about it. Yes.
But it's massive for Derby as well. Not one of the biggest games in their history, but a big game in the context of their season. They've got to keep the pressure on Hull and on Wrexham. They are 5 points behind Hull. They are 1 point behind Wrexham. They want to get above both of them. They need to get above both of them if they want to make the playoffs. And they've obviously been in excellent form over quite an extended period of time. I really like this team. Even without Adjumang, I think they've looked okay in the last couple of games without him. They've won their last 5 at home, and they've scored in each of their last 18 at home. Stats you won't want to hear again. They are a touch light in attacking areas with a couple of absences in the last game, but I'm a John Eustace ultra at this point, and I back him and this Derby team to do it at home to Oxford. Southampton away at Swansea, they're in there as well at 4-5. I'd back Southampton against anyone in the world at the moment, at any price, maybe apart from Bayern Munich and PSG. I think they're
Arsenal? You back them at any price against Arsenal?
Beat them 2 weeks ago, better side.
Oh yeah, true.
I'd take them at 1.8 away at Arsenal for sure. Or not. But I do think they are the 3rd best team in the world at the moment. And that's only partially unserious. 12 wins and 3 draws in the last 15 league games. Here's something I'll add. I think relative to the division they are playing in, Southampton are one of the best teams in the world right now. I think it's impossible to argue with that. As you say, they beat Arsenal as well. They're looking amazing, and sure, they might run out of steam at some point, but Eckert's playing an absolute rotation masterclass at the moment. Swansea obviously beat Leicester as your nap last week, but they were mostly under the cosh. I'm not saying it was a lucky winner. It was a good big price nap, but they were mostly under the cosh and scored a breakaway goal. So their only shot on target. They drew with Borough before that, and they were all right, but they were also mostly under the cosh in that game, and their 2 goals were penalties. So I still think that Southampton will do the business here. When push comes to shove, I'm a saint. And also backing Pompey, controversially. Norwich, back on Norwich again. They're at Bristol City. They're both 8-5 to win this game, and they're both on 58 points this season. And they're both playing for not much other than to finish above one another. Obviously, if you look at the last few months, if you look at the way their seasons have panned out, Bristol City have always been kind of up there and kind of dropped off a little bit, then picked up a little bit. Norwich were the worst team in the league practically for 3 months, and then have been among the best for the last few months. So I do like this Norwich price. You can't really know what's going to happen in these games where that neither team are striving for something hugely tangible. And therefore, I'd rather be on the team that I think have the better players, really locked in style at the moment and are on much better form. So Norwich 8-5 are in there. Wrexham at home to Stoke, 1.7 this one. Stoke, they've lost their last 5 away games. They failed to win in their last 7 on the road. They haven't kept a clean sheet in their last 5 away games. Obviously, they've conceded at least 2 in each of their last 4. They go to a Wrexham team who've had a poor few weeks, drawing at West Brom, losing thumped, you'd say, really, at home to Southampton, and then lost to Birmingham. I don't think this is Wrexham done for the season. I think there's going to be at least a flicker. At least they're going to give it a go. They're 4 points off Hull, and I think they should beat Stoke comfortably here. So that's 1.7. And then the 6th leg is Wigan at Port Vale at 2.3. And it's basically because Vale's schedule is absolutely absurd. They played on Tuesday. They drew 0-0 with Barnsley. Barnsley had a pen saved. Barnsley had most of the chances. They play tonight, Thursday night, away at Peterborough. Then they play on Sunday at home to Wigan. Their schedule is a bit of a joke at the moment. They're obviously their relegation will likely be confirmed over the weekend, or it will be confirmed over the weekend. And they are not playing well. I think they're pretty much cooked and exhausted. In the last 4 games, their shot count 5, 10, 7, and 8 total, with only 8 shots on target in that time, and their shots against 12, 21, 10, 19, with about 20 shots on target in that time. So I like Wigan here, who are rampant under Gary Caldwell, really ending the season with a smile on their face, and in Joe Taylor, one of the hottest guys in the world right now in front of goal. So there's the Eggman. It's at
Southampton, the best team in the world, and Joe Taylor's the hottest guy in the world.
Yeah, in front of goal.
Cool. That's better. Okay.
77.86 is the price. That'd be a bit of fun, wouldn't it? Portsmouth, Derby, Southampton, Norwich, Wrexham, Wigan.
Hope it loses.
Thank you. BTTS 6-fold to finish us off. This one's at about 26-1 with Sky Bet.
Fantastic. Yes, my 3, again, we just mentioned there, Derby, Oxford, just for reasons that both teams need to win it. I think we're getting a good price here at 4-5 because both probably seen as being low goal expectancy teams. But for Derby, it's again, they have to win if they're going to keep their playoff hopes alive. For Oxford, it's again, they have to win. Really, a draw won't do them too much good unless, I guess, other results go their way, but they won't know that because it's an early kickoff, albeit we'll know what's happened with Blackburn on Friday night. But yes, we've seen Oxford's games be pretty end-to-end recently. The 2-2 draw against Pompey, last time being one of those. So yeah, that's one. Stevenage Lincoln, another one. I hope anyone maybe did back the single last week with Leyton Orient, that game finishing 2-1. Just going to keep putting Lincoln in these. Because I think their games are going to continue to be pretty vibey, given they will like to pour forward regularly, but also may not be that solid at the back. A huge game of this for Stevenage, who we know aren't, I think you said they only play in binary terms, which is true, but they had a 5-1 in midweek, and if Lincoln,
glad I got the gag away before it aged, before it ended.
And if Lincoln are as good going forward as we expect, then Stevenage are going to have to score to get something out of the game. And then finally, Notts County Barnet. Barnet game has been going mad for goals recently, as of Newport, as of Notts County home games. So 8-11. This is kind of the lock of the 3.
You can say that again.
Thank you.
I'm adding Watford, Sheffield United. Both teams have seen BTTS land in 6 of their last 8. I'm adding Bolton and Huddersfield. This is because mainly, we know Bolton incredibly gung-ho approach tactically and personnel-wise. They played against Stevenage in midweek. Midweek. Good that. They played against Stevenage in midweek with a centre midfield duo of Josh Sheehan and Ruben Rodriguez with 4 attackers in front of them. Osei Tutu at right back. It's a real gung-ho approach. They won 5-1. They are not great at the back. And Huddersfield, under John Stead's interim reign, has just been complete chaos. There have been 6 injury time goals, like in the 90 plus. In their last 4 games, 3-4-3 against. BTTS has landed in their last 6. I like BTTS there. And Fleetwood Chesterfield to finish off. I just never really trust Chesterfield to keep a clean sheet, and I think they're more than happy being a team that tries to win 3-1 rather than 1-0. And as I say, Mark Helm, good value for me. Fleetwood, half-decent side, even with not so much to play for. It's a big game for Chesterfield, and I'm sure they will act accordingly, so that's in there. It's 27.04 with Sky Bet, so 26-1. Derby, Oxford, Watford, Sheffield United in the Championship. Bolton, Huddersfield, and Stevenage, Lincoln in League 1. Fleetwood, Chesterfield, and Notts County, Barnet in League 2. George, recap your selections.
Yeah, got my nap. Is our Barrow at 5-4. What are you laughing at?
Nap is Barrow.
Yeah, if I say them all, then you can't have a problem. Nap is our Barrow at 5-4. And Northampton, my next best at 18-5. Wickham at home to Blackpool, Macclesfield at 4-5. And Richard Kone, first goal scorer, 8-1 for QPR at Millwall is my goal scorer.
Play up Pompey. Pompey play up. That's my nap. 13-10 at home to Leicester. Goal scorer corner has 1 point on Jay's Cabia of Grimsby, 9-4. Half a point on Ben Wiles, Milton Keynes, 7-2. Mark Helm, Fleetwood Town, 7-2. Half a point play. The Eggman, sixfold. Acker, 77.86 the price. Portsmouth, Derby, Southampton, Norwich, Wrexham, and Wigan on Sunday. The BTTS sixfold has Derby and Oxford, Watford and Sheffield United in the Championship, Bolton, Huddersfield, Stevenage, Lincoln in League 1, Fleetwood, Chesterfield, and Notts County, Barnet in League 2. There's only 2 more weekend betting shows to come after this one. Obviously, there'll be some bits and bobs around the playoffs, and we cannot wait for them, but still so much more excitement to come. We've barely touched on a lot of the huge fixtures across 3 leagues this weekend, but we'll do it on Monday, so join us then on the NTT20 podcast. Here's the reverters. Go well.